Hello everyone, this is part 42 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Red eyes, accented by Black Tomo, scanned over the page, and despite their special power did not take in any of the script. Realizing he had spent 15 minutes reading and had learned nothing, Orochimaru grabbed the scroll, and threw it across the room. His venting still held a measure of calculated safety, as the ancient parchment landed softly on the bed. Problem? Sasuke asked smugly. I may have undervalued Kabuto's skills at translating these old scrolls, Orochimaru noted neutrally, not wanting to let his body's original owner rile him. Then why don't you just bring him back? This time, the trapped soul's question was more curious than mocking. It is not so easy, finding a body for the impure world resurrection, the snake answered, living or recently dead shinobi, or a child with the necessary chakra supply and physicality. And even if I could find such a candidate, the Leaf Village has been watching for strange disappearances since my last encounter with your former teammates. Recalling that annoyed him. Naruto Uzumaki has been a thorn in my side for too long now, Orochimaru hissed. First he defeated that idiot Mizuki, preventing me from obtaining the sealed scroll. He interfered in the Forest of Death, and then he stopped Gaara from destroying the Konohagakure. He delayed you when the Sound 4 recruited you. And on, always that boy gets in my way. Orochimaru paused, a smile playing across Sasuke's lips. But perhaps I can solve two problems at once. Hinata knocked on the door to Naruto's condo, and was more than a little surprised when he did not answer immediately. After waiting slightly longer than was required by social etiquette, she knocked again, this time firmer and louder. She wondered if he was still in the bathroom getting ready. Just as she prepared to rap on his door a third time, the portal suddenly opened, and Naruto faced her with a sheepish grin. Sorry, Hina-chan, he said quickly, I was going over Dad's tiger and heron scrolls in the armory, and I wasn't sure if I really heard you knock. That's all right, Naruto, she said thoughtfully. There was something strained about his expression and his words. She felt something was bothering him, but she decided not to press him, yet. I could be wrong, she thought, so I'll wait until I'm sure, or until Naruto is ready to talk to me about it. Come on, let's go. He grabbed her hand, and stepped out of his home. After locking the door, he pulled her back towards the stairs. As he passed her, she noticed again the shadow in his eyes. Naruto tried his best to act like everything was normal for the date day, but Hinata could see the gaps in his performance. He had been fine when they visited Keiko and Hanabi, however in Sakura's room, his interactions had been more forced. Sakura must have noticed too, she had given the other kunoichi a questioning look and a raised eyebrow after he left the room. During lunch he had dropped his chopsticks 3 times, and Chuki had asked if he was feeling alright. Lastly, during the movie, his reactions to the action and comedy were slow, when he reacted at all. As they exited the theater, Hinata decided she could not wait any longer. Hinata, Naruto asked in surprise when she stopped in the middle of the street. Naruto, let's go home, she told him as firmly as she was able. But what about our reservations? He prompted without conviction. You aren't enjoying yourself, she pointed out, you are distracted, and whatever it is, I doubt you will want to talk about it in public. You noticed? He asked sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Naruto, everyone noticed, she informed him with a hint of exasperation. He was surprised. He had been more confident in his acting abilities than that. Okay, let's go back to my place, he conceded. She nodded, and wrapped her arm around his tightly. Naruto, please tell me what is bothering you, she asked, after they were secured within his home. She guided him over to the love seat, and sat beside him, staring at him intently. Well, he frowned, trying to put words to his dilemma, it's about my, Nindo. Like what if you make a promise you know you shouldn't keep? And for that matter, when does a promise really become a promise? I don't understand, she told him honestly, who did you make a promise to? Nobody, yet, he admitted, it's just. Let's say, Hypothetically, that Gaara sent me a letter in secret, asking me to duel him, so we could test how strong we are. And he asked me to come alone and not tell anyone, because it could be a problem, politically. But I really thought I should bring Sakura with, so she could heal us, cause you know one or both of us would get pretty hurt. Technically, I haven't really promised not to tell anyone, but by reading the letter and accepting his challenge, I also kinda did, you know. Naruto, did someone ask to fight you? Hinata asked, worried. No, 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 he waved his hands, that's just an example. Like if Kakashi-sensei left a phone message about wanting to teach me a special jutsu, in secret, on a day when you and I have a date scheduled. Just when does a suggestion of secrecy become a promise? She pondered that, not fully convinced, I can't really say. It depends on the situation. The Kazekage challenging you to a friendly match would be different than an enemy of the village demanding a duel to the death. She watched his reaction, but did not get one, so she continued, also, what is at stake could change things. Like a chance to capture or kill Madara or Pain would be more important than meeting the demand for a secret fight. Again he considered her words without flinching, and Hinata started to wonder if her initial suspicion had been wrong. I guess that doesn't really help, does it? She prompted. Not at all, he said frankly. As she began to shrink into herself, he grinned and kayed her. But I still feel better, anyway, he said brightly, thanks, Hinata. She smiled back at him, and nodded. Grammar sooned, Naruto panted slightly as he darted into her office, slamming the door behind him. She frowned at him, both amused and annoyed. What is it, knucklehead? She demanded, I'm busy. I need the next 2 weeks off, he answered quickly. She raised an eyebrow, and her expression darkened dangerously. I already gave you and Hinata the last 2 weeks of September off, she reminded, and light duty in October, so you two could spend time with Hanabi. She didn't begrudge them the chance to help the psychologically injured girl recover, but she couldn't have him taking advantage of her either. Yeah, but this is different, he insisted, desperately. Then tell me why you need the time off, she offered more openly. I can't, he grinned mischievously, that would ruin the surprise. Though it made her even more curious, the statement did little to convince the Leaf Village's leader. Come on, Tsunade Nisan, he switched his label for her, hoping to butter her up. November's always the slowest month anyway. She sighed, knowing his trick but finding herself influenced by it nonetheless. You're going to have to give me some sort of reason, the Hokage said gently, it's not that I don't trust you, Naruto. Then she stopped and smirked at him, no, actually, that's exactly what it is. Fine, he glared at her a little, you know the weapon forge jutsu. She nodded thoughtfully. Well, I'm working on something, he continued, and if I can get it right, it will benefit the whole village. Her eyes narrowed as she studied him. She was well aware of the quality of his previous creations, but still his suggestion seemed a little grandiose. Finally she exhaled and shrugged. All right, knucklehead, you can have the next 2 weeks off, she relented, since this isn't a vacation, I'm guessing I won't need to give up Hinata, too. No, he said hastily, in fact, if you could not mention this to her. You want to surprise her, too? Tsunade asked suspiciously. That, Naruto scratched his cheek sheepishly, and I'm afraid she might want to watch, which could be distracting. They're as bad as Dan and I were, she thought, a touch of lecherousness entering her brown eyes. Okay, I'll keep quiet. Thanks, Graham. Her eyes narrowed, and he rapidly spit out, Tsunade Nisan. He ran back out of her office, and as he did, his expression turned melancholy. He hated misleading her, but he didn't have any other choice. Guy-sensei. Naruto hailed the bowl-cut Jonin loudly. Well, hello, Naruto, Might Guy returned the greeting imperiously. The Hokage gave me the week off, the blonde youth fibbed, so now will you teach me how to fight the Sharingan? Of course, Naruto, Kakashi's rival gave the Tokujo an exaggerated thumbs up. Then he queried, but why is it so urgent for you to learn it now? Even if he didn't get Hanabi's body, Madara is still out there, Naruto said hatefully, and now that she's getting better, I want to make sure the next time I see that guy, I can put him down for good. Then he grinned, embarrassed by his seriousness, and I suppose there is also Orochimaru. I'll probably have to fight him again someday, and he might still be in Sasuke's body. Guy nodded, I understand. Indeed, There is no time like the present. In that spirit, shall we begin right now? Great, Naruto nodded. The first secret to fighting the Sharingan. Guy started as he led the young ninja towards the practice field. As they vanished down a side street, Hinata stepped into the main thoroughfare, a worried expression on her lovely face. Hinata wandered back into the village, despondent. She had secretly observed Naruto's third morning with Might Guy, returning once more to her expert skills in stalking Uzumaki, unobserved. Her lover's clone training was allowing him to learn the anti-Sharingan techniques at a rapid clip. Having already heard from Neji some things about the style Guy created to fight Kakashi, she doubted Naruto would need the whole week to finish his studies. But what really had her worried was what came after the lessons. He wouldn't, would he? She mumbled to herself. Of course he would, she answered herself silently, to fulfill the promises he made to Sakura, to Kakashi, and to himself. But what should I do? Well, good morning, Hinata. A somewhat boisterous voice broke her reverie just before she bumped into its bearer. Jiraiya's clothes and hair were dirty and ragged, as if he had just returned from a difficult trip. He smiled down at her, until she looked up, and he saw her desperate expression. Master Jiraiya, she sniffled, on the verge of bursting into tears, and the Sannin took a step back in surprise. Better? Jiraiya asked, before sipping his own tea. Hinata bobbed her head, looking down into the ceramic mug. The Toad Sage had hurriedly led the somber teen to a nearby tea shop, and placed her in a booth before getting them both a soothing blend to drink. Good, he nodded back. Now do you care to tell me what is wrong? It's Naruto, she whispered. I think he is going to fight Orochimaru. In secret. The Sannin frowned at the accusation. What makes you think that? 5 days ago, on our date, he was worried and distracted, she explained, and when I confronted him, he asked if being challenged to a duel alone constituted a promise to accept the terms of the duel. Like coming alone, even if you knew it wasn't the best idea. Then, a day later, he suddenly took a week off, and asked Guy-sensei to teach him how to fight against the Sharingan. That's pretty substantial, Jiraiya argued, though his tone seemed to indicate he agreed with her. I know, she said, that's why I don't know what to do. The way I see it, you can either support him, or you can try to stop him, the legendary pervert suggested. If you want to stop him, you could go to the Hokage, but somehow I doubt Tsunade would react well. Or Naruto for that matter. Or you could confront him, but short of threatening to dump him, I doubt you could get through to that numbskull. Could you do that? I don't know, she said, her heart breaking a little just thinking about it. Unfortunately, even if you did, Naruto might just let you, thinking he would try to win you back if he survived. And that's hardly the way you want him going into this kind of fight. So you are saying I should support him? She asked, confused. I'm not going to tell you what to do, Hinata, he countered gently. But it is what you would do. Hinata pressed him. Heck, no. Jiraiya shook his head. I'm not sure Naruto is ready to kill Orochimaru, especially if it means killing Sasuke. I'd haul him into Tsunade's office for his own good, and on the off chance our people could catch the snake at the rendezvous. But then again, he grinned lecherously, I'm not sleeping with him, and I couldn't tear up and beg him to come back to me no matter what. If I were, that just might give the knucklehead the kick in the pants to go all out against my old friend. So that is what I should do. The pale beauty blushed furiously, but did not back down. Again, I'm not saying that. It's just one way you could help him, give him your trust and emotional support, and give him a reason to come back. Or you could just follow him, he shrugged. What? Hinata perked up. Some mildly unflattering rumors suggest you are pretty good at tracking Naruto without him noticing. He squinted at her suspiciously with his right eye, closing his left, and it would not surprise me one bit to find out this is some kind of trap. So you could follow him, and make sure everything is kosher. Naruto would definitely complain if you stepped in on a fair fight, but if Orochimaru brought resurrected versions of the Akatsuki members, the kid probably wouldn't squawk at a little backup. Sorry, Hinata, but I have other things to take care of, he stood suddenly, but I hope I was able to help you a little. Yes, Master Jiraiya, thank you, as she nodded there was a renewed determination in her white eyes. I guess I know what she's going to do, the Toad Sage told himself, as he strode out into the street, though I'm not quite convinced she is right about what is going on, otherwise I'd tell Tsunade and risk both of their wraths. But if she is right, I had better stop stalling. Naruto's life might just depend on what I find. First, Emporium Karen to replenish my supplies, and then a quick chat with Shikamaru. He turned suddenly and headed for the ninja tools shop. Naruto was almost thankful when his week with Might Guy came to an end. It wasn't just that Guy was both crazy and demanding in his training, though that was certainly part of it. No, the young man was relieved because throughout the week, he could not shake the feeling that he was being watched. He had never seen, or heard, or even smelled anyone, and Guy didn't seem to notice either. But the feeling was still there, like a dull itch in the back of his neck and scalp. He thought he knew the reason for the feeling, he was afraid he would be caught. If the Hokage learned he was training to fight the Sharingan, she would want to know how it related to the weapon she thought he was working on. Then he would have to lie to her in earnest. Or come clean, and risk her stopping him. Right now he could still claim she had misunderstood him, and drawn connections he hadn't meant. But if she came straight out and asked him, he wouldn't be able to weasel his way out like that again. He returned to his condo, and headed straight for the armory. Naruto began taking out everything he might need. Kitsune, extra kunai, shurikens, and paper bombs, some food pills, rope, a spare uniform, a few generic antidote pills for snake bites. Though he still had a few days before the appointment, he wanted to be ready. As he packed, unpacked, and repacked, his thoughts drifted to Hinata. They had only gotten together once in the last week, and Naruto really missed his fiancée. He wanted to talk to her, hold her, K her at least one more time, in case he didn't return. But at the same time, he wanted to keep her away, afraid his resolve would break, or that she would figure out what was going. She can't know I'm leaving to fight Orochimaru, he muttered. I still don't understand this, Sasuke Uchiha grumbled, challenging Naruto, even though you ran from him the last 2 times you met up. And your so-called promise, should he win? Even that guy isn't stupid enough to believe you. He will know this is a trap. I had my reasons for retreating, Orochimaru answered smugly. In the former case, I was already weak from fighting Madara, and fighting both your ancestor and your teammate at the same time would have been difficult, to say the least. And last time I had wasted too much chakra on that stupid soul summoning technique, and I was potentially facing Naruto, those 2 kunoiki, and dozens of enraged toads. Withdrawing was the only reasonable course. And as for your second point, Orochimaru smirked superiorly both outside and on the wall of the soul cage, there is no trap. This will be as fair of a fight as can be, considering the difference in our powers and skills. You're joking, Sasuke stated incredulously. Not at all, the snake's grin did not diminish. You see, I have learned something about your little friend. Making him angry, betraying him, that is not a good idea. Particularly in this instance. Aside from my aforementioned superiority, that Jinchuriki will also be hampered by the fact he does not want to hurt your body. If I make him angry enough that the demon starts to influence him, that advantage will be gone as well. So a fair fight, no tricks, no traps, no backup, and Uzumaki's own honor will be his downfall. In his prison Sasuke scared, both impressed and disgusted that Orochimaru could make being honest so twisted and devious. Naruto settled onto the wind-hollowed tree branch, and pulled a trio of rice balls out of his pack. It was just after noon, and only 5 hours since he had left the Hidden Leaf village. Normally he would not have stopped so soon for lunch, or might have even eaten on the go, but he was taking this journey slow and conserving his strength. He had given himself 2 days to make a journey, even though at his best speed would have taken him just over 1 day. As he returned the thermos to his pack, Uzumaki's keen nose caught a whiff of a familiar scent. He scowled in annoyance, masking no small amount of anxiousness. He took off through the trees again, any thoughts of a leisurely pace banished. He raced forward as fast as he could, the forest becoming a blur around him. It was not quite so quickly as he could have moved on an open field or trail, but it was enough that he could have left any horse or automobile in his dust. She caught up to him an instant later, her pale eyes filled with worry. Please, don't run away, Naruto, his fiancée requested desperately. You know I am faster than you, unless you use your Ascendant Fox Jutsu. And even then, it is only until you run out chakra. So, would you stop, please? Hinata, Naruto skidded to a halt and faced his beloved. The exaggerated surprise on his face masked his true shock. Hers had not been the aroma he detected. What are you doing here? He asked with feigned nonchalance. We followed you. Hinata tapped her fingers together. She had thought she was past that nervous tick, but the knowledge that she had betrayed her lover brought it out again. Why would you follow me? He asked dubiously, trying to sound confused. Don't give us that, knucklehead, Sakura barked, finally catching up. Her left arm was still in a sling, but otherwise she appeared normal. The Jonin chose her position so that she and Hinata had Naruto partially blocked off. His only route to escape was back towards the village. Hinata frowned at her, and Sakura briefly showed her friend a contrite grin. Haruno was the one who had drifted out of position, allowing Naruto to catch her scent. What are you talking about, Sakura? Uzumaki chuckled weakly. Then he glared at her, and honestly demanded, should you even be out of the hospital? If you hadn't been distracted this last week, you'd know I'm back at home, except for physical therapy, the healer counted the deflection, and I'm here to support Hinata, and I guess you, if she decides we're going with you, instead of dragging you back. Hinata. Naruto looked at his girlfriend in a mix of confusion and annoyance. She quailed, then took a deep breath, and banished that part of herself. I know you are going to fight Orochimaru, the pale beauty announced firmly. What? What are you talking about? He tried to sound astonished, but it came out as worried instead. You were going to a duel, you thought you should bring Sakura even though you were asked to come alone, you had Guy-sensei teach you to fight the Sharingan, she rattled off her points, and whoever you were dueling it had to be someone you would have reason to break protocol to fight. I told you, that duel stuff was just something I made up, he said defensively, and I'm not breaking the rules, I'm on vacation. Bend, break, Sakura snarked. If that is true, where are you going? Hinata asked directly, and why wouldn't you tell me? Did you not want me to come with you? It's a surprise, he said weakly. You aren't lying, his fiancée noted, but you are hiding something. Give it up, Sakura shrugged and exhaled in derision, you aren't fooling me, and if you can't do that, there's no way you'll fool Hinata. She knows you better than I do, and she has the Byakugan. Sakura noticed she managed to say that without even a twinge of jealousy, and inner Sakura gave her a thumbs up. How did Orochimaru convince you to do this? Hinata asked gently. He promised to give back Sasuke, Naruto whispered. Both women's eyes widened, and Sakura raised her good hand in front of her face as she gasped. He what? Hinata probed again, not believing her ears. He asked me to fight him, all alone, one-on-one, Naruto said with determination, and he promised that if I won, he would leave Sasuke's body forever. That's why I have to do this, it may be my last chance to fulfill my promises, to you, Sakura, to Kakashi-sensei, and even to myself and Sasuke. I have to do this. It's a trap, Sakura tried to lecture him, but fear and hope stole the force from her voice, it has to be. That snake would never agree to something like that. But I have to take that chance, the fox-faced youth argued. Orochimaru's already been in Sasuke's body for over a year, which means Sasuke's only got 2 years left. Maybe not even that long. Hinata, please, he grabbed his lover's hands, and stared pleadingly into her eyes, don't try to stop me. I have to do this. She studied him for a moment, and then nodded. Thanks, Hinata, he leaned in and kissed her gratefully, I'll see you two in a few days, okay. Sakura looked surprised and slightly disgusted. But as he started to step back, Naruto discovered Hinata was now holding his hands, and shaking her head. We're not going back, Naruto, the Hyuga heir said firmly, we are going with you. Sakura grinned approvingly, and Uzumaki looked stunned. But I have to go alone. That was the deal, Naruto protested weakly, and both women knew that was not really his concern. Normally, I don't mind when you want to protect me, Naruto, Hinata told him lovingly, but this time we are going to protect you. If Orochimaru is truly being honest, we will stay out of it. But when he breaks his word, we will be there to even the odds. And besides, she smiled slyly, you wanted Sakura there to heal Sasuke's body, after you beat the renegade Sannin out of him, right? The medic chuckled in agreement. Naruto was at a loss for a moment, all of his excuses sundered and his true reasons laid. Then he shook his head with a defeated yet happy grin. Okay, I guess there's no way around it. You're right, there isn't. Sakura smirked darkly at him, adding, and if you try to leave us behind, Hinata and I will make you wish Orochimaru had made you his guinea pig. Won't we? She smiled sweetly at her former rival, and Hinata jumped a little. Then the younger Kunoichi nodded firmly at both of her teammates. I know better than that, Naruto told the Jonin nervously. Then he shook out his head and neck, and grinned broadly at his teammates. Let's go get Sasuke back. As he took off, Hinata frowned in worry. Even though he had already checked twice, Jiraiya plotted the coordinates again. The cave entrance was unassuming, one of dozens or even hundreds in the surrounding mountain range. But this one matched exactly with the laude and longitude values Sasuke had secretly supplied to him during the battle that ended Itachi's life. As he approached the cave, the toad sage shivered. At first he wondered if it was nerves, then he realized there was a cold breeze issuing lazily from the cavern. He recognized the tactic as a way to keep random animals or bandits from taking up residence in the serpent's den. If someone or something was looking for warmth and shelter, it or they would not pick a place colder than it was outside. He nodded. It looks like you haven't thrown away everything Sarutobi-sensei taught us, Jiraiya mentally commented to his absent comrade. He tightened his cloak, incidentally bringing the tool pouches on his backpack closer. Well, let's see what your last resort is, old friend, the aging Sanin noted, before stepping into the chasm. Hinata, is something wrong? Sakura asked, noticing her friend's pensive expression. Naruto was a short way ahead of the two Kunoichi, leading the way, yet being very careful not to leave them behind. Over the past few hours, Hinata's visage had slowly darkened, growing thoughtful, then dubious and a little frightened. Are you having second thoughts? The pink-haired Jonin asked. We could still drag him back, and let the Hokage sort it out. No, that's not it, the pale beauty said carefully. Then what? The Hyuga heiress regarded her friend for a moment, as if struggling to know what to say or how to say it. Then she sighed and dipped her head slightly. The dark-haired Tokujo started, it's just, when Naruto brings Sasuke back, he'll probably rejoin your team. I mean, it's where he belongs, and to be frank, I'm not sure anyone else would accept him easily, if at all. Sakura nodded sagely. But what does that mean for me? Hinata sounded slightly desperate. I don't want to be selfish, and I don't want to be in the way. But when Sasuke comes back, that means I'll be alone, without a team. Kiba and Shino are doing well with Sasam, so I couldn't go back to them, even if I wanted to. And I love being a part of Team Kakashi, and not just because of Naruto. Sakura smiled kindly at the younger woman. Even if Sasuke rejoins Team Kakashi, Haruno reassured Hyuga, that doesn't mean we'll just throw you away. You are a part of our team now, Hinata. And frankly, if asked to choose between Sasuke and you, Naruto would pick you. Then the medical ninja grinned mischievously and added, me, I'd have to think about it. Naruto would pick me over Sasuke. Hinata sounded dubious, I mean for the team. After all, he's doing all of this to get Sasuke back. Yeah, but that's because of the promises he made, Sakura countered, and then it was her turn to look sad. You know how that knucklehead feels about keeping his word. I don't think Naruto has given any thought to what happens after that, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't trust Sasuke anymore. Hinata nodded, remembering how Naruto had told her he had given up on Sasuke, thought he still wanted to complete his oaths. And you might be getting ahead of yourself, the Jonin noted. First Naruto has to beat Orochimaru, then the snake has to keep his promise. Even if that happens, who knows when, or even if Sasuke will return to duty. Naruto will win, Hinata insisted. Of course he will, Sakura agreed wryly. As the sun neared the horizon, the three teenage ninjas had taken down the temporary camp, and were getting ready to depart. They had discussed the duel, and decided that the two Kunoichi would stay about a kilometer away, far enough away that Orochimaru should not be able to find them, but well within range of Hinata's Byakugan and close enough to intervene if the snake broke his word. Sakura gave Naruto a brief hug with her good arm, and then stepped aside. Hinata embraced her lover fiercely, and pressed her lips to his. Their pink-haired teammate looked away hastily, feeling like a third wheel. After they broke off the K, Hinata rested her chin on his shoulder, tears streaming lightly down her cheeks. Promise me, she whispered into his ear, with a hint desperation in her voice, promise me that you'll come back to me, no matter what. I will, sunshine, he told her lovingly, I swear, I will. Sakura snorted and rolled her eyes, but her lingering grin was happy, if somewhat wistful. I better get going, Naruto said as he reluctantly separated from his fiancée. I wouldn't want Orochimaru to think I stood him up. He grinned at them confidently, and then turned and ran up an oak's trunk, stepping onto a branch and vaulting forward into the tree line. Hinata activated her Kekkei Genkai, and after he was the agreed upon distance ahead of them, she signaled Sakura, and the two young women followed. The forest opened onto a broad, idyllic field. The grass was thick, lush, green, and grew just past Naruto's ankles. Here and there, large gray boulders broke the monotony of the flowing emerald carpet. A few hundred feet away, a wide, shallow stream meandered through the meadow, with a soft, sandy southern bank, and short, sharply cut off, dirt, cliff, to the north. The late afternoon breeze sent slow waves through both the grass and the water. Uzumaki felt regretful, both that he hadn't seen this place under more peaceful conditions, and for the damage he knew to battle would inflict on it. On one of the flat-topped stones, sat Sasuke's body, his left leg lying bent against the rock, and his right knee propped up so he could lean forward onto it. When Naruto first entered the plane, his eyes were closed, but now he opened them. The twice younger man grimaced at the hybrid orbs. Sasuke's Sharingan were carved partially in half by Orochimaru's shake-slit pupils. As the blonde teen approached, the Sannin forced his stolen body to slide smoothly into a standing position. He looked around, before addressing the Leaf Shinobi. "Where are Hinata and Sakura?" Orochimaru asked, using Uchiha's voice with a slightly mocking tone. "How did you?" Naruto sputtered in surprise, and a touch of fury. "I passed your camp a few hours ago, on my way here," the snake summoner answered, still sounding like the youth he possessed. "I was quite surprised you chose not to honor the terms I laid out in my letter. I almost turned back, but I decided to give you the benefit of the doubt, and hear you out, first." "They followed me," Naruto stated, glaring at his opponent darkly for multiple reasons. "They promised not to interfere as long as you didn't cheat, but said if I didn't let them come within watch, they would drag me back to the village. It sounds like my reputation has come back to haunt me. But I hope I can trust them." The Sannin sounded innocently dubious. "Where are they now?" "Back in the woods, watching. Maybe they should come to the edge of the forest." The serpent raised his voice so the kunoichi could hear him, "so they can get better view, and so I can make sure they don't try anything." "Stop using Sasuke's voice," Naruto growled, his rage reaching the boiling point. "But it is the natural sound of this body," Orochimaru said openly. "Given the situation, I didn't want to spend the chakra to modify it." Uzumaki glared at him, unsettled by the body thief's laid-back and seemingly honest attitude. Though he kept his face a careful mask of naivety, Orochimaru could not help but be amused by the effect his exaggerated act was having on his opponent, even though it was not what he had hoped. His Sharingan watched the trees, and a few seconds later, Sakura and Hinata appeared at the edge of the field. The two kunoichi found reasonably comfortable positions to stand watch, and like their male teammate, started to glare at Sasuke's captor. "Before we begin, I would like to clarify one thing." The Sannin held up his hand, as Naruto started to coil for his initial lunge. Uzumaki paused, shivering from the built-up energy in his muscles. "What now?" The Leaf Tokujo snarled in annoyance. "I proposed on a one-on-one battle, with no advanced preparation of the battlefield," Orochimaru reminded him, and Naruto nodded. "I just want to stipulate as to whether that excludes my summoned snakes and your summoned toads as well." The blonde youth frowned at the legitimate question. "Well, I guess if it's really 1-1-1, then no summons." "All right," Orochimaru nodded agreeably. "In that case, summoning jutsu." All three Leaf teens tensed for a betrayal, but the Sannin did not make any aggressive moves. A single python coiled around his arm, and disgorged Kusanagi into his right hand. He banished the snake, and then plunged the sword halfway in his stone perch. "I wanted to make sure I had my weapon on hand," he explained, "so I would not be accused of treachery if I decide to use it later." The young women relaxed, but Naruto shook with rage. "What is all this crap?" the younger man demanded, and Orochimaru twisted Sasuke's face into an expression of surprise. "I promised you an honest fight, and I intend to deliver that," the older shinobi answered without a hint of sarcasm. "Now then, I am ready to start. Shall we?" "Darn right," Naruto roared, charging forward, Rasengan. The serpent caller smirked at his opponent's haste. He sidestepped, caught the blonde teen's wrist, and flipped him over. As Naruto started to fall, Orochimaru kicked him away. But as the foot connected with his side, Uzumaki grinned at his rival's stolen face, and then exploded into puff of chakra. The Sharingan darted around, searching for his opponent, but finally settled angrily on the young women. Is this a trap for me, then? He demanded, lure me out with a fake Naruto, and then have the Anbu try to capture me. Sakura shook her head, as if disappointed, but Hinata glared back. The body thief took a step towards them, however before his foot hit the ground, the earth began to shake. Orochimaru jumped back, but not quite soon enough. Naruto shot out of the ground, fist first, and he clipped Sasuke's chest. The snake completed his backward somersault, and landed looking at the triumphant Leaf Ninja. Did you really think you could yank my chain just by acting polite? Naruto asked smugly. Perhaps not, Orochimaru shrugged apathetically, but inside was pleased that his plan to keep the team calm yet still somewhat off balance had not failed. Chidori. He darted in, his lightning-coated hand ready to stab forward. Naruto hopped back twice, watching Sasuke's wrist. But Orochimaru stopped at Uzumaki's original position, and thrust his hand forward as if to strike where Naruto had been. Raihebi, the Sannin announced, and the lightning chakra left his fingers, shooting at the younger warrior in 17, slithering, snake-shaped streaks. But Naruto had enough distance, and was aware of the maneuver, so he was able to roll to the left and avoid the attack. I guess that means you decided on a name for that jutsu. Yukihana's son grinned darkly as he returned to a fighting stance. I see my old friend has been telling tales. The snake countered lightly, but I'm still not sure about it. Raihebi doesn't sound much better than Chihebi. But I think that is enough for the warm-ups, Orochimaru added more seriously. He charged in, aiming a right cross at Naruto heart. As the blonde youth blocked, the body thief shifted his momentum, spinning around into a left thrust kick that hit Uzumaki in the stomach. But the attack did not have as much impact as the Sharingan user was expecting, and Naruto caught Sasuke's ankle, and attempted to drop his heel onto the knee of the trapped limb. Orochimaru shifted his body, placing his hands on the ground and swinging his unhindered leg up to hit Uzumaki's attacking leg, heel to heel. The impact jarred Minato's son enough that the Sannin was able to twist his grappled limb free. The two men fell back slightly, each favor his leg that had not just been stunned by the brutal impact. Phoenix Flower Jutsu, Sasuke's voice incanted rapidly, and he spit a wide spray of small fireballs at his opponent. If you're hoping for the same thing as last time, you're gonna be disappointed, Naruto shouted, quickly forming three hand seals before stating, Fuyuten, Tornado Lance Jutsu. The large cone of green chakra carved through the fire sphere barrage, destroying those it touched. The Leaf Ninja pulled his arms in tight and followed the attack. Though his uniform's right shoulder and left calf were mildly scorched by remnants of the flames, Uzumaki reached the stolen Uchiha effectively unscathed. Orochimaru was forced to abandon his jutsu to avoid the wind technique. But as he ducked and rolled, Naruto reached him and attempted to sweep his legs. The Sannin grimaced as he hopped over the attack. Why didn't he use the cyclone spikes like I compelled him? Orochimaru demanded of Sasuke, but the trapped teen ignored him. The renegade instead focused his will into the Sharingan thinking, left roundhouse kick. He tensed his body to avoid the attack he expected the fox-faced shinobi to launch, planning a counterattack that would have broken Naruto's knee, at least temporarily. But instead of the kick, Naruto launched twin punches, one at Orochimaru's nose and the other at his gut. Sasuke's form scrambled back, and the red and black eyes stared even more intently at Uzumaki. After a few dozen attacks worth of studying Naruto, Orochimaru realized what was happening. He was very accustomed to people not wanting to look him in the eye, even before he had acquired the Uchiha's legendary orbs. But even then, they generally looked at his shoulders or chest, occasionally glancing up at his face. Naruto, on the other hand, did none of that. His blue eyes were focused on Sasuke's feet, never moving above the knees. Afraid to look me in the eye. Sasuke's conscripted voice mocked him, but the younger teen grinned without looking up. I know if I look into your Sharingan, you can influence what I do, Jiraiya's apprentice answered. Maybe you can't totally control me, but even if you try to make me throw a right cross and I throw a right jab or left cross instead, it's close enough to give you a major advantage. Then what about? Orochimaru trailed off, launching a back fist at Naruto's right temple. But the blonde shinobi deflected it with ease. Any attack worth making takes your whole body, he quoted Might Guy, smirking at the serpent's ankles, then added his own 2 cents. So even if you try to hit me while only moving your upper body, your attacks would be too slow and weak to matter. Even if that were true, the Sannin countered dubiously, you are forgetting one important detail. The body thief had raised his hands in front of his face as he said that and as he trailed off, and finished shaping his next attack. Suten, wave-pounding jutsu. Sasuke's voice proclaimed, and the stream wrenched out of its banks, taking on the form of a clenched human fist as it struck Naruto. If you can't see my hands, you don't know what they are doing, Orochimaru explained loudly, like forming a ninjutsu, readying a paper bomb, or throwing a shuriken. He punctuated the last statement by do just that, aiming for throwing stars at the shadow of Naruto under the water. The deluge continued to engulf Uzumaki, with smaller, denser, fists of water punching him as they flowed by with the more normal mass of liquid. The blades passed through the torrent easily, and slashed into the blonde warrior's form. As the jutsu ended and the water started to recede, the renegade stepped closer, mildly surprised his opponent hadn't done anything else. Suddenly, Naruto exploded, peppering Sasuke's body with splinters of wood and metal. What was left of the log toppled over, and both Orochimaru and Sakura regarded it with confusion. Their surprise was short-lived, as Naruto barreled in from behind, and his right knuckles slammed into Orochimaru's jaw as the rogue turned towards the rustling of the grass. Adding some papers bombs was a great idea, thanks, the younger man grinned, I just wish I wouldn't have had to run back so far after substituting for that fallen tree. He hiked his thumb back towards the forest, opposite where Hinata and Sakura watched. Orochimaru hissed slightly as he spun back to his feet, aiming a quick kick at the leaf ninja's left knee. Naruto hopped back, grabbing for the extended limb, but this time he failed to connect. Both men resumed their fighting stances, and paused, considering. Naruto's doing better than I expected, Sakura noted softly, I thought he would be holding back, and would be pretty beat up by now. No, Hinata shook her head, her braid flailing behind her, they are both still holding back. Sakura glanced to the side, and recognized the tense look in her friend's silver eyes. Hinata, what is it? I would say Naruto is fighting with about half of his full strength right now, the sharp-eyed Kunoichi answered, but if I understand what I am seeing, Orochimaru is still only at around 30%. And Orochimaru appears to have two different sets of chakra, if I am right, both his and Sasuke's. He still doesn't have Naruto's reserves, but it is more than anyone else I have seen. Sakura shuddered slightly, but then tried to look reassuring. But Naruto still has his ascendant fox form on top of that, right? The medic reminded, so it's really more like the knucklehead is only at 25% right now. But when they reach that point, will Naruto still have the chakra to use that technique for a practical length of time? Hinata thought, not wanting to dash her teammates' hopes. Assuming that idiot hasn't already spent all his energy on shadow clones and Raisingans, the injured woman continued to herself, not wanting to depress her sensitive comrade. Orochimaru started signing again, but Naruto knocked his hands apart, breaking the jutsu before it was fully formed. He stepped in and rammed his elbow into Sasuke's solar plexus, and then stomped on his right foot for good measure. The Sannin retaliated by boxing the former Jinchuriki's ears. The snake then placed his foot on Uzumaki's knee, and used it as a springboard, jumped back and slammed his knee into the blonde's chin. As he flipped over, Orochimaru started signing again. Blast Avalanche Jutsu, he announced once he was fully inverted. Naruto recovered quickly, a thin stream of blood leaking from the already closing cut in his jawline. Then his eyes widened, and he scrambled back as dozens of stones, each slightly larger than his head, tore into the ground where he had been standing. He was careful not to look at his rival as he started crafting hand seals of his own. Doton, Stone Claws Jutsu, Naruto shouted, watching as a half-dozen claws of earth grabbed his opponent's legs. He ran back in, aiming a crescent kick at Orochimaru's left side. Sparkling Coat, the renegade stated in response, sending a shock down Uzumaki's leg. The lightning jutsu did not destroy the earth technique, it weakened the claws but not enough for Orochimaru to break free. So he quickly signed again while the leaf warrior was still reeling. Dual Arts, Steam Scourge Jutsu, the Sannin intoned, and the creek boiled over its boundaries, this time quite literally. The column of superheated water brushed by Sasuke's left side, destroying the stone claws on its way towards Naruto. The younger teen placed his hands together in the seal for dragon, but said, Ru, instead of, Tatsu. The traitor snorted in amusement as Uzumaki vanished in a blur. You need a hand sign to flash step. Sasuke's voice demanded mockingly. Naruto reappeared right in front of Orochimaru's stolen form, smiling confidently, and staring the renegade straight in the Sharingan. The Uchiha's dojutsu compelled him to throw a punch at the snake's chin, but the knucklehead just stood there, looking laid back. If he's not planning to attack, I can't make him. Orochimaru frowned at the limit of the auto-hypnosis. Then he shrugged slightly, and simply launched a punch of his own at Uzumaki's nose, while trying to force the blonde man to continue to stand there passively. But before he could finish drawing back his arm, a kick to his back sent him tumbling forward, and Naruto casually stepped out of the way. As he fell, a third Naruto's fist dug into Sasuke's side. Orochimaru tensed and compacted his body, rolling past the fourth copy of the Tokujo without being hit. He slithered to his feet, staring at the four fox-faced teens suspiciously. When did you? He hissed, then realization dawned on him. You like my flash split jutsu? Naruto asked in stereo, grinning at his opponent. It is moderately ingenious, Orochimaru agreed, trying not to sound impressed. I wish I had been paying close enough attention to copy it. Would you mind showing me again, so it doesn't die with you? Nah, I'm not worried about that. Uzumaki shook his head, and Sasuke's stolen shoulders bobbed again in acceptance. The next heartbeat, three of the versions of the blonde warrior stampeded forward, launching a concentrated barrage of punches and kicks, all while staring Sasuke firmly in the eyes. The second option, for dealing with the Sharingan, is one you are already somewhat familiar with, Might Guy said dramatically. It is to use a small number of shadow clones to overwhelm the auto-hypnosis power. Generally 3 to 5 attackers is what you need. Any more than that, and it will be so tightly packed Madara could turn your clones against one another. Plus with only a few clones you can reinforce them, so they can take 1 or 2 moderate hits before they implode. I can do that, Naruto asked. Make my clones tougher. Probably. Guy seemed mildly dubious. My attempts to teach the method to Neji and Tenten were a failure, but having heard of your blood clone jutsu, I think you might be able to handle it. The copy's heel dug into the grass as he skidded back. But a second Naruto clipped Sasuke's hip with his fist, turning him into the path of the third version who kicked him firmly in the chest. The final Uzumaki, who had hung back, finished signing. Doton, double stone jacket jutsu, Uzumaki announced, and the field erupted, wrapping Orochimaru in 2 feet of compressed earth. The 3 copies surrounded him still ready to attack. Sasuke's head drooped as he struggled, and the real Naruto took a step closer, watching his trapped enemy carefully. But after his second step, Orochimaru's head snapped up, and his Mangekyo Sharingan locked onto Naruto's now unguarded eyes. Tsukuyomi, he hissed confidently. Naruto's mindscape was laid out like a martial arts dojo, and the young man was frozen near the entrance. Orochimaru briefly examined the scrolls with the names of the dojo members. First was Naruto Uzumaki, naturally, and then Hinata Hyuga, Sakura Haruno, and Kakashi Hatake. He looked down the names of the Leaf Shinobi and the current Kazekage, and the Sannin chuckled at the 10th name, Sasuke Uchiha. Now, what shall I do with you? He addressed the teen, who was slowly moving closer. I was thinking of going with my usual for the sake of simplicity. Most humans don't enjoy being forced to molt their skin. They aren't exactly designed for it after all. That's disappointing, a soft female voice chided him from behind. It is only natural that Madara has much more experience than you, but I was hoping for something more insightful and creative than a simple snake-related trick. Orochimaru spun around, and saw a scantily clad female version of Naruto frowning at him. The Sannin glanced back, but the original Naruto was still in the same spot, and even with his leaden reaction, he didn't seem to notice the other mental construct. And what are you? Orochimaru asked carefully. You should know that already, the young woman said pointedly, and for an instant, 9 tails of red energy flashed behind her. In that case, why don't you stop right there? The snake instructed. His Sharingan flared, as he drew on Sasuke's memories of suppressing the Bijuu's power. She laughed darkly at his efforts, and sauntered deliberately closer. That doesn't work anymore, she purred. So now you protect your captor. The body thief tried to hide his nervousness by deflecting the demoness. But she only smirked more broadly and slid even closer. My, what have we here? Naruto leaned in closer, staring intently at Orochimaru's chest. The serpent summoner tried to step back, but found his actions suddenly slowed as well. The mental construct had lifted her hand, which had transformed into a large, vulpine claw. She slashed out, carving through Orochimaru's heart. The white box holding him shook, to Sasuke's amazement. In all the time since he had surrendered to Orochimaru, nothing the snake had done had ever had that sort of effect on the soul prison. Normally, the only change in his cage was when Orochimaru chose to show him what was happening outside, as he was doing now. The trapped Uchiha stood and walked around the room, probing the walls. As he did, he felt something he could not see. A set of 4 ridges in the back wall, as if the box had been dented by some outside impact. Intrigued, Sasuke continued to examine the sudden and unexpected alteration to his prison. Naruto frowned and cringed, but nothing happened. An instant later, a look of pain and terror flashed across Sasuke's face, and Orochimaru glared at the teen in livid confusion. How did you convince the vixen to help you? The renegade snarled, prompting a look of surprise from the teen. Naruto quickly recovered and strode more confidently forward. That was the same move Itachi used to put Sasuke and Kakashi into comas, Sakura noted, the one you bounced back at the vampire. Why didn't it work on Naruto? Orochimaru said the Kyuubi helped Naruto, Hinata whispered nervously, but I thought the fox was gone. Maybe Naruto came up with something. Sakura said dubiously, some sort of counter-genjutsu, that makes his enemy see the fox. The 2 young women shared dubious, worried glances, before returning their attention to the stalled battle. Are we done? Naruto asked pointedly. No, Orochimaru answered condescendingly. Kusanagi sliced out of its stone sheath, and flew across the plain. It speared 2 of the clones, destroying them instantly, and then carved away the dirt trapping its master. He slashed through the final clone, and then pointed the blade at Naruto. That's right, Sakura gasped as she remembered. What? Hinata asked. I was thinking about what you said earlier, and thought something felt wrong, the medic answered, and I just remembered. Lady Tsunade said Orochimaru's style is swordplay, with minimal movement. All that dodging and all those kicks weren't like him. He really was just playing with Naruto. That explains it, the Byakugan user said in a thoughtful tone. The pink-haired Jonin looked at her friend inquisitively, and Hinata explained, earlier I said Orochimaru was fighting at 30%, and his fighting spirit had been steadily raising. But just now, the tension in his muscles and the flow of his chakra shifted, and he is down below where he started, at maybe 25%. Now, we begin, Orochimaru hissed, stabbing out with the lengthening sword. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.